12 Stoic Principles to Build Self-Discipline. Marcus Aurelius. Stoicism. Self-discipline is not built through motivation. It is built through structure, repetition, and truth. Marcus Aurelius did not lead an empire by chasing comfort. He trained his mind daily. He reminded himself that comfort weakens character and excuses destroy progress. Stoicism offers a clear system for discipline that does not depend on mood, praise, or perfect conditions. Most people fail at discipline because they rely on emotion. They act when they feel inspired and stop when they feel tired. The Stoic path rejects this pattern. It teaches you to act from principle, not impulse. When you align your actions with reason instead of feeling, stability begins. In this video, you will learn 12 Stoic principles drawn from the teachings of Marcus Aurelius and other Stoic thinkers. Each principle strengthens a different part of your character. Together, they form a framework for self-control, resilience, and consistency. If you apply even a few of these daily, your behavior will change. Your focus will sharpen. Your reactions will slow down. Your self-respect will increase. If you value practical Stoic wisdom that strengthens discipline and mental clarity, subscribe to this channel. You will get consistent lessons you can apply in real life. 1. Control what you can. Self-discipline starts with clarity about control. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that external events are not his domain. Your thoughts, choices, and effort belong to you. Outcomes and opinions do not. When you focus only on what you control, excuses lose power. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop waiting for ideal conditions. Action becomes immediate because responsibility is clear. This principle removes distraction. You direct effort where it matters. Discipline strengthens because attention stays within your authority. Most frustration comes from misplaced effort. You try to control how people respond. You try to control timing, recognition, and results. When those do not align with your expectations, motivation drops, anger rises, focus weakens. Stoicism cuts this pattern at the root. It teaches you to separate what depends on you from what does not. This separation protects your energy. When you wake up, you control your preparation. You control whether you train, study, work, or delay. You control your tone in conversations. You control whether you complain or solve. These are not small factors. Over time, they shape identity. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action. The obstacle becomes the way when you respond correctly. That response is always within your control. This mindset also builds emotional stability. If someone criticizes you unfairly, you cannot control their words. You can control your interpretation and reaction. If a plan fails, you cannot reverse the outcome. You can control your next decision. Discipline strengthens when you train this reflex daily. Instead of asking why this happened to me, you ask what is my next move. Control creates power. Not power over others, but power over yourself. And self-control is the foundation of all discipline. 2. Accept hardship as training. Stoicism teaches that difficulty builds strength. Marcus Aurelius faced war, illness, and betrayal, yet he treated each challenge as practice. When you view hardship as training, resistance drops. You stop asking why this is happening. You ask what this is teaching. This shift builds endurance. Discipline grows when discomfort no longer surprises you. You expect effort. You prepare for strain. That expectation keeps you steady. Most people break because they expect ease. They plan for smooth days and react poorly when friction appears. Stoicism prepares you differently. It assumes obstacles. It assumes delay. It assumes fatigue. When reality matches expectation, your stability remains intact. You do not waste energy on shock or complaint. You move straight to response. Hardship exposes weaknesses. It reveals impatience, pride, fear, and avoidance. This exposure is useful. You cannot strengthen what you refuse to see. When you treat struggle as instruction, you stop taking difficulty personally. You analyze it. You adjust. You improve. This process builds resilience faster than comfort ever could. Physical training offers a clear example. Muscles grow under tension, not ease. The same principle applies to character. Stress strengthens decision-making when you face it directly. Avoidance weakens it. Each time you endure discomfort without retreat, you increase confidence. You prove to yourself that you can operate under pressure. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that fire tests gold. He understood that leadership required composure during crisis. Your life may not involve ruling an empire, but it will involve pressure, financial strain, conflict, fatigue. Discipline means staying functional through these seasons. When you accept hardship as training, you stop negotiating with discomfort. You start building capacity. Over time, challenges feel smaller because you have grown stronger. That is how discipline compounds. 3. Act according to reason. Emotion fluctuates. Reason guides. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself to think clearly before acting. Self-discipline depends on rational choice. You evaluate actions by long-term value, not short-term relief. This prevents impulsive decisions. When reason leads, consistency follows. Your behavior aligns with values, not mood. Most regret comes from emotional reaction. Anger pushes harsh words. Fear delays necessary action. Desire chases comfort at the cost of progress. If you allow emotion to decide, discipline weakens. Stoicism does not reject emotion. It puts it in its proper place. You acknowledge what you feel, but you choose based on reason. Reason asks direct questions. Will this action move me closer to my goal? Does this align with my values? What are the consequences if I repeat this behavior for a year? These questions slow impulse. They create space between stimulus and response. In that space, discipline forms. Marcus Aurelius practiced written reflection to strengthen rational thinking. Writing forced clarity. You can do the same. Before making a major decision, pause. Outline the facts. Separate assumption from evidence. Remove ego from the equation. This process reduces error. Acting according to reason also protects you in conflict. When someone provokes you, emotion demands retaliation. Reason asks whether response will improve the situation. Often silence or measured words achieve more than reaction. This restraint builds authority. Consistency depends on standards. Standards depend on rational evaluation. When you choose actions based on principles instead of feelings, you reduce volatility. You stop starting and stopping projects based on mood. You continue because logic supports continuation. Reason does not remove difficulty. It removes confusion. And clarity strengthens discipline over time. 4. Practice voluntary discomfort. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to endure simplicity, cold, hunger, fatigue. These were exercises in resilience. Choosing mild discomfort builds strength. You prove you can function without constant ease. Fear of hardship weakens. Discipline becomes natural when comfort is not required for action. Modern life removes friction. Food arrives fast. Climate stays controlled. Entertainment fills silence. While convenience helps, constant comfort lowers tolerance for strain. When small discomfort feels overwhelming, you avoid effort. Avoidance weakens discipline. Stoicism counters this by introducing controlled difficulty on purpose. Voluntary discomfort does not mean harm. It means measured challenge. Take cold showers. Delay a meal. Walk instead of drive short distances. Train when tired but not injured. Wake up without hitting snooze. Each act sends a signal to your mind. You can function without ideal conditions. You do not depend on ease. This practice reduces fear. Many people hesitate to pursue goals because they fear discomfort. They fear rejection, fatigue, or failure. When you regularly expose yourself to mild strain, those fears shrink. You become familiar with tension. Familiarity lowers resistance. Voluntary discomfort also sharpens gratitude. When you experience less for a period, you value more when it returns. Simplicity clarifies what is necessary and what is excess. Discipline improves because you cut dependency on constant stimulation. Marcus Aurelius slept simply despite imperial power. He reminded himself that luxury weakens resolve. You may not live in a palace, but the principle applies. The more you rely on comfort to act, the less consistent you become. Train yourself to operate under less than perfect conditions. Start small. Increase gradually. Over time, action feels normal even when circumstances are hard. That is when discipline becomes stable. 5. Guard your time. Time is limited. Marcus Aurelius warned against wasting it on trivial matters. Self-discipline requires focus. You reduce distractions. You protect your schedule. You eliminate activities that do not serve growth. Respecting time strengthens identity. You act with urgency grounded in reality. Most people treat time as renewable. It is not. Each day you spend cannot return. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that death stands near. This was not pessimism. It was clarity. When you understand that your lifespan is finite, you stop giving hours to what weakens you. Distraction is the modern threat to discipline. Endless scrolling, constant notifications, shallow conversations. These fragment attention. Fragmented attention reduces depth of work. Reduced depth lowers results. Guarding your time means setting boundaries. Turn off non-essential alerts. Schedule focused work blocks. Limit entertainment to defined periods. If you do not set rules, impulse will set them for you. Time guarding also means saying no. Not every request deserves agreement. Not every invitation aligns with your goals. Each yes carries a cost. When you say yes without thought, you spend time you cannot afford. Discipline grows when you evaluate commitments before accepting them. Track your time for 1 week. Write down how you spend each hour. Patterns will appear. You will see leaks. Once visible, you can correct them. This simple audit increases awareness and control. When you treat time as valuable, your behavior shifts. You prepare the night before. You start tasks on schedule. You finish what you begin. Others notice your reliability. More important, you notice it. Self-respect increases when your actions match your priorities. Guarding time is not about speed. It is about intention. You move with purpose because you understand the cost of delay. 6. Speak less, act more. Stoicism values action over talk. Promises mean little without execution. When you reduce unnecessary speech, you conserve energy. You let results represent you. Discipline grows when action replaces intention alone. Many people confuse planning and announcing with progress. They talk about goals. They describe routines. They explain future success. This creates temporary satisfaction. The brain receives a small reward from social approval, but nothing changes in reality. Marcus Aurelius warned himself to stop debating what a good person is and to be one. Action proves character. Words only describe intention. Speaking less increases focus. When you announce plans too early, you expose them to opinion and distraction. You defend ideas instead of building them. Silence protects momentum. You work in private. You measure progress through output, not praise. This principle also strengthens self-control. Unnecessary speech often comes from impulse. Complaining, gossiping, arguing online. Each instance drains energy. When you pause before speaking, you ask whether your words improve the situation. If not, you stay silent. This restraint builds discipline in small ways that compound. Action builds credibility. If you say you will train, train. If you say you will finish a task, finish it. Over time, people trust your words because they match your behavior. More important, you trust yourself. Self-trust is a core element of discipline. Without it, motivation collapses quickly. Speaking less does not mean avoiding communication. It means speaking with purpose. Clear, direct, necessary words. Then execution. When action becomes your primary language, excuses lose space. Results replace promises, and discipline becomes visible in your conduct. 7. Observe your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius examined his thinking daily. He corrected errors before they shaped behavior. Self-discipline depends on mental awareness. You notice excuses early. You challenge false beliefs. Clear thinking leads to controlled action. Most behavior begins as thought. If you ignore your thinking patterns, they control you. You repeat habits without understanding their source. Stoicism trains you to step back and examine your mind as if you are an observer. You ask what belief drives this reaction. You question whether that belief is accurate. Excuses often hide inside reasonable sounding thoughts. I am too tired. I will start tomorrow. This is not the right time. When you observe these statements, you test them. Are you truly incapable, or just uncomfortable? Is tomorrow guaranteed to provide better conditions? Most delays come from avoidance, not logic. Marcus Aurelius used journaling to review his responses. Writing exposes distortion. When thoughts move from mind to paper, they lose exaggeration. Problems shrink to their actual size. This clarity prevents overreaction. Observation also improves emotional control. When anger rises, you label it. When fear appears, you identify it. Labeling creates distance. Distance reduces intensity. You respond instead of react. Over time, this practice rewires automatic responses. Discipline strengthens when you interrupt negative loops early. If you catch doubt at the first sign, you prevent withdrawal. If you catch pride early, you prevent arrogance. Self-correction becomes routine. You cannot control what thought appears first. You can control whether you accept it. Observing your mind daily builds internal authority, and internal authority sustains discipline under pressure. 8. Maintain inner calm. Calm supports discipline. When emotion spikes, control weakens. Stoics practiced steady breathing and measured response. Calm improves judgment and reduces mistakes. Discipline thrives in regulated states. Stress narrows perception. When your nervous system shifts into fight or flight, thinking becomes reactive. You rush decisions. You misread tone. You overcorrect small problems. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to pause before responding. That pause protected judgment. Inner calm is not passive. It is controlled awareness. You stay alert without becoming agitated. This balance allows you to act with precision. In conflict, calm prevents escalation. In pressure, calm preserves focus. Many errors occur not because of lack of skill, but because of unmanaged emotion. Breathing is a practical tool. Slow, controlled breath signals safety to the body. Inhale steadily. Exhale longer than you inhale. This reduces heart rate and clears mental noise. Practice this daily, not only in crisis. Training calm during normal conditions makes it accessible during stress. Calm also improves communication. When you regulate tone and pace, others respond with less resistance. You maintain authority without aggression. This strengthens leadership and trust. Discipline requires repeated right action. Emotional spikes interrupt repetition. If frustration makes you quit, progress stops. If anger damages relationships, stability weakens. By maintaining inner calm, you protect consistency. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that events do not disturb you. Your judgment about them does. When you adjust interpretation, emotional intensity decreases. You see obstacles as tasks, not threats. Train calm daily. Protect it during conflict. Use it under pressure. A regulated mind executes better decisions, and disciplined action becomes easier when your inner state remains steady. 9. Detach from praise and blame. External validation destabilizes behavior. Marcus Aurelius wrote that fame after death is no different from fame before birth. Both mean nothing to you. Reputation lives in other people's minds. You do not control their minds. If you chase praise, you become reactive. You adjust your behavior to fit expectations. You soften your standards to stay liked. Over time, you lose clarity about what you stand for. When you detach from praise, you act from principle. You choose actions that align with your values, even if no one notices. You focus on the process. You measure yourself by effort, honesty, and consistency. Blame works the same way. If you fear criticism, you hesitate. You avoid risk. You stay small to avoid judgment. That fear weakens discipline. When you detach from blame, you remain steady. You evaluate criticism with reason. Ask, is it true? Is it useful? Can it improve my conduct? If yes, adjust. If no, discard it. Discipline strengthens when approval no longer dictates effort. You train when results are slow. You show up when recognition is absent. You continue when others doubt you. This shift builds internal stability. Your mood stops rising with praise and crashing with criticism. Your work becomes consistent. Your identity becomes self-defined. Praise and blame will always exist. You cannot control them. You can control your response. That control is strength. 10. Fulfill your role. Stoicism centers on duty. You occupy roles whether you acknowledge them or not. You are a worker, parent, partner, leader, citizen. Each role carries clear responsibilities. Self-discipline means you meet those responsibilities without negotiation. You act because the task is yours, not because you feel inspired, not because you receive recognition, because it is required. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning that he would meet difficult people. He still chose to act justly. He focused on his role, not on their behavior. When you understand your role, decisions become simpler. Ask, what does this role require right now? What action aligns with integrity? What outcome serves the larger whole? Then act. Fulfilling your role builds structure in your life. You show up on time. You complete what you start. You keep your word. These habits compound. Consistency builds credibility. People learn they can rely on you. More important, you learn you can rely on yourself. That trust strengthens confidence. Complaining weakens execution. It shifts energy from action to emotion. Discipline removes drama from duty. You handle what is yours, then move forward. You cannot control every result. You can control whether you fulfilled your role with effort and honesty. That is enough. 11. Reflect daily. Marcus Aurelius wrote private notes to examine his conduct. He did not write to impress anyone. He wrote to correct himself. Reflection gave him clarity. Daily review prevents drift. Without it, you repeat the same mistakes. You act on impulse. You justify weak behavior. Reflection interrupts that pattern. Set aside a few minutes each night. Remove distractions. Replay the day with honesty. Ask, where did I act with discipline? Where did I fall short? What triggered that failure? What will I do differently tomorrow? Keep answers direct. No excuses. No self-attack. The goal is correction, not guilt. When you identify mistakes quickly, you reduce their cost. Small adjustments prevent long-term damage. This is how steady growth happens. Track patterns. If you notice repeated lapses, design a fix. Change your environment. Adjust your schedule. Reduce exposure to triggers. Discipline improves when you solve root problems, not when you rely on willpower alone. Daily reflection also reinforces wins. You build evidence that you can act with integrity. That builds internal confidence. Discipline improves through honest evaluation. You cannot improve what you refuse to examine. 12. Commit to continuous improvement. Stoicism treats life as training. You do not graduate from it. You practice it daily. There is no finish line where discipline becomes permanent. Skill fades without repetition. Character weakens without pressure. You either improve or drift. Self-discipline grows through small, repeated actions. One focused work session. One hard workout. One controlled response in a tense moment. These actions seem minor, but they compound. Research on habit formation shows behavior strengthens through consistency, not intensity. A small action done daily beats a large effort done once a week. Repetition wires behavior into identity. Continuous improvement requires measurement. Track your habits, your output, your emotional reactions, your failures. What gets measured gets managed. If you do not track it, you guess. Guessing slows growth. Expect slow progress. Real change often feels invisible in the short term. Over months, the difference becomes obvious. This is compounding at work. Commitment matters most when motivation fades. Motivation fluctuates with mood, sleep, and circumstances. Commitment does not. You act because you decided to act. Set a standard. Meet it daily. Adjust when needed. Raise it gradually. Continuous improvement is not about perfection. It is about direction. As long as you move forward, you are training. If these principles challenged you, that tension matters. Growth often starts with discomfort. Do not ignore it. Subscribe for clear lessons on discipline, mental strength, and self-control. Each video will give you practical steps you can apply the same day. No theory without action. If you want results, commit publicly. Comment the one principle you will practice today. Keep it specific. Examples. I will reflect for 5 minutes before bed. I will complete my main task before checking my phone. I will accept criticism without reacting emotionally. I will fulfill my role at work without complaint. When you write it down, you increase follow-through. Studies on goal commitment show that public declarations raise accountability. Start small. Execute today. Return tomorrow stronger. Discipline builds daily.